Welcome, everyone, to the Capitol Report with Vladi and Bryan. This is a weekly political show we're going to be bringing to you like I said, every week, letting you know what's going on, definitely up into the election. It's a big time in our country. Vladi, go ahead and introduce yourself to the good people.
Yeah, my name is Vladi. From the Seattle area. And yeah, we do a lot of sports stuff with Bryan and I, and we decided we should touch base on some of this, some of the political climate right now, especially we have the elections in a few weeks, and I think it's a good time to kind of start this up. And I hope you guys jump in and subscribe. And we're gonna do all kinds of content on this page, from sports to gaming. I've talked to a guy doing movie reviews, and we're gonna have this political side too. So yeah, click that subscribe button, please.
Big times ahead. Big times ahead. Stay with us, guys. Stay with us.
Mhm.
All right, so let's get going, man. I'm looking here. I think it's the big news right now. Everybody knows all about Trump and COVID, man.
Wow.
What's going on? I'm keeping up with it.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
It's hey, dude, it's one of those things. This whole train wreck of a situation that's been going on. It's like it's so entertaining, but it's like one of those movies. I can't think of a movie that I always think of. It's like a really good movie, but you just can't wait till it ends. It's like it's like a great horror movie. You watch like a horror movie. It's like, goddamn, this is scary. It's scary, but I want it to turn the corner already. But you're intrigued in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's how this whole thing has been, man.
That's
it's just
great.
been nuts.
That's nice.
Yeah. And looking at it, I just start thinking, what is it going to do for him? Obviously he got it. And I think, I've been kind of anti-COVID in a way this whole time, because I believe eventually we're all going to get it. It's one of those things that I feel like we're going to have to, it's a new reality in the world. No matter how we look at it, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, no matter what, you're going to catch it. So it was bound to happen that somebody of a public figure in politics is going to get it. I mean, we've already had, I think it was like the first week we had like Tom Hanks and them get it, the movie stars,
Sure.
And then we had athletes got it. Obviously, the NBA ended up getting closed down, and it was just a bound. And then the prime minister in the UK got it, but it was just bound to happen that somebody in the United States political sphere was going to get it. And I know a lot of people, people want to tag and say, "Oh, he was anti-COVID." I was like, look, somebody's going to get it. It's going to happen. It's going to hit us. I think what Ryan's a very interesting question right now is, where does he go from here?
Yes.
And I believe this is going to be very funny in the next few days. I would almost bet a bottom dollar that in the next 2 days, Trump releases like some kind of video from his bunker or wherever the hell he's hiding, and says, "See, this thing is nothing. I told you guys, that the COVID is weak. It's been a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. I'm only here because they're forcing me to be in this bunker to quarantine. I feel like I should be out there campaigning, because I think he had a campaign today in Florida. He had to postpone. So I bet you he's going to go out there and be like, look, they're forcing me to do this, and he's going to point his finger, which he's great at deflecting.
Sure.
I think that's the one thing people whether hate or like or love Trump, either or. I don't want to make this like a partisan show, but
Right.
Whether you hate or love him, the one good thing, the one real cool lesson to learn from him is he never accepts defeat. Like, he'll never apologize. And you might find that ignorant, but to me, I think in today's politics, like, you look at like the Me Too thing with Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart, the moment he opened his mouth about apologizing, they kept making him apologize over and over again, over and over again. They're like, they just, finally he admitted he's wrong. And Trump, he does something wrong, he'll just point your finger back at you. Like, hell no, I'm not apologizing, because I know where that takes me. If he comes out and says, imagine if he came out and said, guys, I was wrong, I should have social distanced, yada, yada, yada. Oh my God, they'll have a field day with it.
You're right.
They'll have a field day with it.
Well, I just saw a quote Biden just put out, basically saying, "Hey, I hope that this serves as a reminder. I hope you're wearing your mask, keeping your 6 feet apart, and doing everything." It's almost like a ha right there.
Yeah.
So you're right. You're right about that. Yeah.
And so I said the only way, if he wants to win this election, it's going to be a very close one, and we might not even see the end of the election until like March or something, because who knows what's going to go with the courts, with the ballots. It's going to be chaos. I mean, like Gore versus Bush. Remember Gore versus Bush in Florida? This could be like 6-7 states could be going through legal battles this time around. So his best bet right now is to just double down. And you know what? I don't disagree with it, because like, if I think I'm 99% sure I had COVID in January, before all the big testing and everything. But I went I had like soreness, and I was pretty sick. I went and tested for the flu. I didn't came back negative, but my doctor actually called me and said, "Hey, I think you might have had this. You have all the symptoms." So, no one, even I don't think he's wrong by saying, "Look, what do you guys expect me to do? I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna campaign. I'm the president of the United States. I have to meet with people. I have to make phone calls. I have a Supreme Court justice on the line, which we're gonna get to here in a second. And what am I supposed to do? You guys want me to hide and social distance? And wear a mask? I'm leading a country of 370 million people with peace deals and whatnot with countries from all over the world. I'm in charge of the most powerful country on planet Earth of 7 some billion people on this planet that look up to us in some sense or another. And you guys want me to stay social distance with the mask on? I mean, this is the job. This is part of it. I have to travel. I have to shake hands. I have to rub shoulders with people to be able to do my damn job. It's one thing if you're a real estate agent or you're some kind of a financier on Wall Street. Yeah, you can go home, you can work from your house, and you can just email people. This job it forces you to do a lot more things. So I think that what's going to happen is I think he will come out, double down, say, "Look, yeah, I got it." Hopefully, we hope everybody's fine. I don't want nobody to die, even my biggest enemy to die from a disease,
Right.
So hopefully everything's fine. Everybody turns out fine. And I think he will double down. And I'm intrigued to see what these polls will start looking like. Cause there's going to be like Florida, what's a very close race, but it's a lot of elderly people there.
Yep. That's where they go to retire, man. That's where they go to
retire. And who does this disease affect the most? The elderly
or senior citizens.
And so we're going to see that's going to be a very interesting thing because I believe that community, that's a very close state, and that might be a state that decides it. And it's going to be interesting how they respond to his response to this news. So, I mean, that's pretty my take on it. I believe that he'll come out, double down on what he's been doing. And I think that will actually, if he comes out of here good and he doesn't have any serious issues. And a big thing is I think the next debate is in 13 days.
Yes.
And it's a 14-day quarantine. So it's going to be very close. If he can manage to show up at the next debate and be and test negative in time for that next debate, I think he has a selection in the bag because he'll show up and be like, "See, I'm here for the debate."
Let's play the what if game. Let's say I just read this article from BBC News. Let's say Trump isn't ready. Let's say this is a little bit more serious than they're putting on. And let's say Pence has to step up and kind of fulfill those presidential duties. Where does this put everything in place? I mean, what happens next in your opinion?
See, I know Trump almost picked Pence to bring in like that evangelical, whatever, the Christian crowd, right?
Christian crowd.
That's what he is. He doesn't speak to a lot of Trump supporters. Like I'm a guy who voted for Trump mostly because I hated Hillary at the time, and he doesn't speak to a guy like me. And I don't know if he's energetic enough. If he has the same kind of mojo. I mean, I can't imagine Pence going to holding a Trump rally. I mean, Trump's a stand-up comedian half the time. They're just talking smack.
Yes.
He's just joking. Pence is more.
Be clowning.
Yeah, he's just clowning on there. He's like, he said the other day, it's like, Joe Biden, he had all that plastic surgery, and now he just covers it up with a mask, And I was like, that's hilarious. Hey, hater to love you can love or hate the guy, but he's funny at times.
Funny as hell.
He's funny. He's a stand-up comedian. And so I don't think Pence can bring in that energy. So I guess that comes to the question of, are the voters already settled on who they're voting for? I guess is the big thing.
Come on.
And if they're already settled and we're just playing the waiting game until the ballot's in, are people really going to change their mind at this point after 4 years of what the hell we've been going through? I'm like pretty confident that it's been written. The winner's been written, and I feel like people already made up their minds at this point. There may be a very small minority of humans that are in the middle somehow. They're like, they're not sure to go there. But if you've put up with a lot of BS that Trump has done, with a lot of comments that he's had, a lot of the rhetoric that people don't like, if you've been put up with that and say, "Hey, I like his policies," this ain't gonna change your mind.
No, this doesn't change anything. Really.
And if you've hated him this whole time, no matter what he does, he can do a peace deal, and you'll be like, "Wow, there's already been peace there." This ain't gonna change your mind either, right?
It's really about if you're for or against Trump. I don't find many people that are for Biden. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's either
yeah.
I'm for, or I literally see people say stuff like, "Hey, Biden could do this, this, and this," and I still vote for him. I'm like, bro, that's a problem. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? That's a
and
problem.
then the biggest problem with that is because you got to hold your party accountable if that's your party. I don't believe I'm a libertarian more than anything, so I don't believe I have like a major party that I'm with. But you have to hold them accountable. If they're going to give you the shitty candidate, which I believe Biden is, he's
Sure.
old. You had some great talent. You had Andrew Yang. My
Yeah.
favorite was Tulsi Gabbard. You had some real talent, some young, some energetic guys there that could have actually, I think, done way better than Biden would in the polls. I believe if they had any of those guys, there'd be way more support, and people would actually go and turn up to vote for
Oh,
that candidate.
absolutely. People want to have more options. People want to have better options and more options. Absolutely.
Because right now it's either you're voting for Trump or you're voting against Trump.
That's
You're not
what it
voting for Biden.
is. That's exactly what it is, man. And that's I can't find anyone that would say otherwise. Now, let's say someone like Bernie was in it, he would have a real cult following. But again, his own party did him dirty.
Again.
Bernie's another like the polar opposite of Trump. Either you really like him or you really don't, or he's too extreme or whatever you want to call him. But at least he has his quote unquote cult following. I don't find that with Mr. Joe Biden.
No. That's so true. I mean, he's what is the word for it? I can't think of the word right now. And anyways, he's a populist. He's a populist candidate, a populist, where he has his niche base. And a matter of fact, I personally know a shit ton of Bernie guys who voted for Trump last time because they're pissed that the DNC stole the thing stole it for Hillary. I personally knew Bernie guys who are like, yeah, we're polar opposites, but at the same time, they're kind of anti-government, right? Trump was like drain the swamp. Bernie was like, the rich, the top 1%, and they were kind of, even though if you look at the deep policy, they're very different, but they both kind of carried that anti-major the major two-party anti-government following that they had, whether it was in the Midwest or wherever, where people don't have the work, don't have the job.
Absolutely.
And all those people were either going to go for Bernie or Trump. They didn't want another establishment candidate. And I think the DNC airballed it by giving them the same damn thing again. I mean, and I believe it's even a worse version. I mean, this dude, at least Hillary was somewhat cognitive and being able to go through long periods of conversation. I mean, I'm not here to try to down Biden as, some kind of idiot, but look, he's old. Right. You guys said people get old and they have a mental decline at some point. I mean, that's perfectly normal. That's the way that's how humans, how we operate. We have a time frame. Hey, Mark Jackson always says, Father Time is undefeated. And that's the damn truth, bro.
He does
and that's the damn truth, I mean, he's just old. And so it's a polarizing election, and it's just going to come down to, do more people vote for Trump or do more people vote against him? Because ain't nobody voting for Biden. And that's just that.
That's really just that. And that's what.
So outside of that, the election being really, really, really polarizing, we also have this other thing that's polarizing right now is we have a Supreme Court opening. Oh, my God.
Jump it up. And the Republicans, they're trying to pull a quick one, man.
They should.
If they could get one of their own, they run everything.
So listen.
They run everything.
Yeah, this is the crazy part. If Mitch McConnell happens to appoint just the federal justice, he has like 78 seats right now that are pending. Trump will have had 300 federal judges, including 3 to the Supreme Court in one term. And regardless of what you say about Trump, that is an insane accomplishment.
That's impressive, man. That's impressive.
I mean, even though it's Mitch McConnell stuffing these
strategic and impressive.
Strategic and impressive. Because if you remember under Obama left 180 openings because they didn't attack it hard enough. They left 180 openings and one in the Supreme Court, which obviously Mitch McConnell and those guys screwed them. And they say, hey, listen, we're not going to vote an election here. And I know people.
And that's all I was going to bring up, because that's the only thing where even me, I'm sure YouTube and the Libertarian, you're looking at Republicans like, don't be the hypocrite now. We all remember Merrick Gardner. You said, no, not on an election year. So I see they want to pull the power move, but it's also like, how do you care about how you might?
So my question to that is, if the do Democrats believe that statement? If they believed it, why did they nominate Garland? They nominated Garland, so they wanted the vote.
Yeah, they can go
No,
back.
so they're both hypocrites.
Yeah, they can go back
Both major political parties are hypocrites, and that because I see people, all the Democrats now writing, why you cannot nominate a person in election year. Well, you nominated Garland. You just didn't have the votes. So both sides are hypocritical as fuck. And that's the thing. This is the thing that pissed me off about this is we have these two parties who are like a bunch of school children who are just like, they're just bickering at each other, and they're both hypocritical. Because do not tell me if the Democrats didn't have the Senate in 2016, that they wouldn't push through Garland. Of course they would have pushed through
you already
Garland.
know that. Yeah.
And you know, and it's gonna get contentious, but they will get that seat through. I do not see that failing, especially now with all this COVID stuff, Trump getting COVID. It almost makes it easier because the news are kind of not focused on that. And now Mitch McConnell does his best work behind closed doors. Mitch McConnell does his best work behind closed doors. So this helps Mitch. It helps Mitch because if you know, but nobody even knows that he's already set a record for the most federal justices in a single term appointed, and he has, I think, 78 left to put that he's going to get through. And he's always quiet about it. He's in the back room just making sure that he gets his votes, gets them across. And it is going to help. I think she's going to get appointed. And now we look at the fact is that going to motivate the Democratic base to go against him? Or is that going to vote? Or is that going to pump up the Republicans and say, yeah, see, they did what we asked them to. Let's go vote for them. That's the interesting question.
That's a good question.
And I was thinking about this when this first popped up. I said, okay, should the Republicans wait? Because the big thing that the way Trump won last time was because he released a list of the possible justices that would fill Garland's seat, right, 2 weeks before the election. And the numbers for his poll numbers spiked up. Because a lot of people got riled up like, ooh, that's a good list. And Hillary did not release a list. And what I think what's going to happen is if they didn't fill the seat, I think it would hurt them because I think the Democrats would be motivated to go out and vote to get their person in. But now you're kind of going to suck the air out of the room, right? You're going to like, oh, it's done. Yeah. So what's the point of going voting? That seat is taken. Right. And I think you're going to suck the air out of the room because the people that are really for Trump, they're going to go and vote for him.
Oh, absolutely. It's not changing. And they're going to feel, confident enough to mail it in, or they're going to walk right down there and do what they got to do. They're very cult-like. That's the only word I can think of.
Yeah, really. For sure. So the only people that will not show up are the people that really don't care. And those people would have been more motivated if there's an opening on the Supreme Court. There have been more motivated. So this will kind of suck the air out of the room and say, well, F it. Here we got 3 people on the Supreme Court. They got a 6-3 majority now, pretty much. Screw it. What's the point of voting?
Yeah.
And this will help them a lot. I think this will help them a lot.
No, that's true. And that's where at some point, I mean, I watched a couple of articles on they were talking about, hey, what if the American people had a chance to vote for also the Supreme Court judges?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that, man? What are your ideas?
I think in a sense they do when they vote for the senators, because I think the senators are who picks them. I think what we need to get some goddamn term limits. Ruth Ginsburg, bless her soul, rest in peace. She was a phenomenal Jewish woman who changed. Who's a trailblazer.
She's great.
But she was on that bench 10 years too long.
Come on now.
She should have stepped down when Obama was president, had the Senate, and let him replace her. So she blew that. So if she wants, hey, you got to replace me with another person like me. Well, why didn't you step down when Obama had the Senate? You're already 80 years old. You're old enough to walk away. Obama had the Senate. You walk away, say, hey, Obama, pick somebody like me. Let me pick the next person, and I'll step down, and you can come in. But no, these people, it's like even the judges are power hungry. They're sitting there till 90 years old. Yo, listen, no person should be working that high stress of a job at that age. I mean, there needs to be you need to have some kind of youth. I mean, I make it a 75 age limit, something reasonable. 87 or whatever the hell she was. She's falling asleep. Bro. Falling asleep while she's reviewing some of the most important cases in this country's history, and she's nodding off because she's like, what are we doing, bro? What are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the vote should come down to we get them in, but we need to change the rules. These lifetime appointments. and I want to touch on that in our last segment. But
Yeah.
these lifetime appointments, this is a ridiculous idea that somebody because they were liked in 1978 means that they're
Mm,
the most qualified person for a job today.
come on. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make.
I mean, are they?
I've been talking about this since I was a kid. I remember being a kid. I
Yeah,
might be in the third or fourth grade and learning about the terms. And I remember saying, how come they're in there for so long?
yeah,
It just as a little kid, you know what I'm saying? It
it makes no
didn't. Now,
sense.
now that I got older, I'm like, you get feeble, you get tired. You can't tell me they're looking at every case bottom to top and
There's
then
no
making. There's
way.
no way. There's
There's
no way.
there's no way. At 80 something, you have the energy. I mean, you're talking about very complex issues as a Supreme Court judge. You're talking about 50,000 page summaries, 50,000 pages. I mean, these things are like this that you have to vote on, tax codes and random legal issues. So, who are we really have on the job? Do we have their assistant that's feeding them information?
That's what I was going to get into next. Yeah,
You know?
or under judges or lawyers, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need somebody that can actually handle this work. I can't imagine, even like at my age, I can't, would never be able to handle the kind of work. Even at my age, I mean, to read, I can't. I start nodding off after 3 pages in a book sometimes. You know, so you're gonna tell me I gotta read 50,000 pages of legal
Mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, mumbo jumbo. You're crazy. So those people, hey, they're superheroes. Good for them. They got big brains. They're smarter than me. And
I'm
good
okay
for
with
them.
that. Yeah.
But at some point, there's a mental decline, and we also have to understand that year by year, our country changes, the world changes, and we have to be able to say, is this person the best representation of what today's America is every single decade? And if you're going to say this person was the best person in 1977, well, there's some people in 1930 that were in power that I got to tell you probably would be kind of frowned upon today.
You might be right. You might be right, my brother.
And so we need to sidestep and stop playing these crazy. This is a crazy game. This power. We let these people have so much power, and they're literally in there for 40 years. Because think about this: the 3 people that Trump's about to appoint to the Supreme Court, they will be there for the next 4 decades.
Oh, they're gonna be there for the rest of my life, probably.
Yeah, probably the rest of my life too. Unless we come up with some magic medicine and we have some aftermarket livers and lungs and we live till 300. Who knows? But I'm not holding my breath on that. But they're going to be here for a long time. And then when the Democrats come out and say, well, we're going to pack the court then. We're going to add 4 judges.
They got it, man. I don't think people can understand. The Republicans are able to get this through, man. They run everything.
But then Democrats are like, we're gonna pack the court. So AOC said we're gonna add 4 more judges, and we're gonna bring our own judges in. I believe in order to do that, you have to do a amendment, which takes I think 60 something votes in the Senate, which they would have to flip this race insanely. And is there a chance? Hypothetically, but not when you say things like that. Yeah. When you're going to go say things like that on national television, all those Republican voters are like, oh, we're not going to let them do it, and they're going to hold the Senate. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. This is why Mitch McConnell's a genius legislator. He never talks about it. He gets it done behind closed doors. He's always so sneaky in that back room somewhere where he's passing this stuff through. He's rarely on TV. He rarely goes and does a speech. Like you see Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, they're always yapping in the camera, and Schumer's like, we need the Senate, and he's saying all these crazy things. Well, he's only pumping up the other base because you already agree with the person.
It's already done.
Yeah, the time that the Democrats gets mostly motivated is when they hear the Republican talk because they get pissed off.
They respond.
Yep. And so Mitch understands that. So Mitch hasn't lost the Senate. He's added only to the Senate for years and years now because he's like, you know what? I realize every time I open my mouth, 20 new Democratic voters show up at the polls. So he sits in the back room, Schumer and them, though, every 2 minutes. They ain't never found a camera they don't like. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
And I think that's hurting him. And this packing the court thing, because what you do is you open up the genius bottle, you give 4, then the Republicans get it, they add 8. And what is this? Look, elections have consequences. Win your elections. And that's that on that point, I believe, man.
I mean, going off that point, we're going right into the polls. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, are you worried about it being compromised? I mean, what do you think? Where do you think we're going with this, man?
I saw a poll the other day that was really disturbing. where only 22% of Americans believe that this election's they're going to believe 100% believe the election's outcome.
My wife
22%.
told me about that. My wife told me.
And that is devastating because that means no matter
That's
who
sad.
wins,
Yeah.
no matter who wins, they're going to be pointing fingers. The Republicans win, Democrats
It's
like
gonna look
they're
fraudulent. It's gonna look
fraudulent.
fraudulent. Yeah.
No matter who wins, no matter who wins. And I got to tell you this, I've never had a pollster call me once. Have you ever had a pollster call you?
No, man.
Have you ever answered a poll?
No.
So I'm saying, like, who are they calling? Are they really calling the guys that are on the country that have no service in Central Alabama or in North Dakota? Or
That's where it has to be. That's the only place it has to be.
Or are you only calling San Francisco and like major cities where you call a little hub where you know everybody's one way? Because I got to tell you this, the polls were so wrong in 2016, it's not even close. You know, like 2016, I remember Washington Post, day of the election, gave Hillary, I think it was a 98.9 or 99% chance of winning that election. The day of the election. What? What happened? Those polls are obviously wrong. And I think the way that the climate has picked up so much, where either it's these tribes, we've created these tribes, it's tribalism, you know, where you have one team, the other team, and it's like Bloods, Crips, Celtics, Lakers, Republican, Democrat. You know, it's like we're putting ourselves in these teams. It's like, dog, you don't play for nobody. I always say this: F the Republicans, F the Democrats, bro. I don't have loyalty to either party. And you're looking at it like people are so obsessed that they're on this team. It's like if I play basketball and you're on my team and you get a charge, you're really charged, but they call it on the other guy. I'm not gonna go tell the ref. You know, I'm gonna be like, ha ha ha. No, we got away with one.
Right.
But we shouldn't be doing that in politics.
You're right.
We shouldn't be doing that in politics. I think we should hold both sides accountable in a way. And what's happening is everybody's kind of sitting on their team, and it's become so polarized that now people are like, some people are afraid to admit that they vote for a certain guy because his neighbor might hate him. So they're because I see a lot of Biden and, you know, a lot of Bernie bumper stickers. You rarely see a Trump one because people are like, I'm afraid to get my window broken.
Well, you know? I'm down here in South Texas. I see a lot of Trump. If I see Hillary, if I see a Biden, it's weird, it's awkward. But I will say this, because you brought that up. What do you think about the Electoral College vote? I mean, what do you think about? Because that's where Trump won. That's where Bush won. I mean, that's where a lot of these guys, the polls. Let's say Hillary won the polls. She won the popular vote. But
that's an interesting point. You know,
I want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I got to tell you this. The reason why it's very important to have an electoral college is this: if you have the popular vote, and I'm running for president, I'm only going to visit two places: New York and LA. Why the hell do I care about what Idaho thinks? Why do I care about what a county in Montana thinks when they have 8 people? Because if I'm going off the popular vote, I'm only campaigning in Austin, Miami, Seattle, Portland, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, maybe Houston and San Antonio. I'm only going there for. I'm not campaigning in no goddamn Idaho, wasting my fuel money. Because their votes don't matter. Because a single skyscraper in LA or in New York has more people than an entire county in Montana.
That's true.
And the only way to make that farmer's voice be equivalent to that of the financier in that Wall Street giant ass skyscraper is by making electoral college. Because now you have to win that county as much as you have to, popular vote. So that guy, just because that guy is wealthy enough to live in New York City, that doesn't give him a bigger voice. If you make it a popular vote, the only places, because I mean, LA and New York alone have like 20% of the country's population, whatever the hell it is. So you're only going to go campaign there. So I think that's where we need one, because all of those Midwestern already right now that are swing states that we consider them, they're all very low in population compared to these coastal states like, New York. I mean, density wise, it'd be a lot easier.
Great point. I've had this debate with people for a while, selling cars. I used to bring this up with different guys, and I really never heard that. It would always come back to, yeah, man, I mean, your vote doesn't count anyways. But the way you said it makes more sense. Like, let's give that guy in, suburban
rural Montana,
rural Montana, whatever, out in the country, out in the boondocks, out in Buffalo, not in the city, but in Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? Let's hear their vote. So it is like, how do you make their vote count a little bit more? And I think that's where I do remember one of my guys I used to work with. He would say, "Well, that's where your silent majority comes in."
Yeah.
and walked away. And I was like, all right, let me chew on that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's a good point you brought up, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't. It just. I just know from like the logistical standpoint, there is no point of ever traveling to West Virginia for a campaign if you don't have the electoral points. I would never get a freaking jet with all my campaign people and spend millions of dollars on the ground in West Virginia or in Ohio. For what? If I could spend all that money and go to New York and LA over and over again and get those votes, that's to me so much more important. But because of electoral college, I have to go there now because I need those points. And that's where I think the founding fathers were when they created the system. I think that's what they had an idea. Like, listen, at that point, I think it was Boston, New York. Like there's a couple of
Like
those
Philly
that had all the
a couple
people.
of states, yeah.
Yeah, I had all the people, and you had and they're like, look, we can't have them control what these guys think down here, so we're going to create this system. And I think it's a very genius system in a way, So
No, it's a great point. No, it's a great
yeah,
point, man. I mean, the way they set it all up way back then.
and and that's been a big fight between the two sides, and that's another thing I want to bring up, and probably our last point here. How do we get to the two parties to come together, man? At this point, I mean, are we too far gone? Is that where we're at? I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, at this point, I think we need to get other parties involved. I think the Libertarian, there's a lot of these parties, Green Party. There's a lot of independents out here that's just like, hey, you might have that one guy that really would put this country in the right direction that doesn't want to join a party at all and can still raise money just because he's going to have that following, or like I always say, that cult following. I think it needs to be more wide open. I think it's to a point. I think it's rigged because it always comes down to the donkey on the elephant. You know what I'm saying?
Because they got all the money.
But even still, there's people out here that would. I hear more people talking about, like, for example, Jorgensen, the independent.
Yeah.
I hear her name just as much as I might hear someone say, "Oh, I'm voting for Biden."
She's a libertarian. She's a libertarian, by the way.
Yes, bro. Yeah. So and as you bring that up, some of my close friends that come to mind, about 3 or 4, a lot of them like yourself, they're libertarians, man. They might have voted for Trump this last term, but overall, they're libertarians. So, I mean, my stance is on that. We need to open up the parties more. We need to give it more variety. We need to give it more attention, if that makes sense.
I think there's a couple of things. I agree with that point wholeheartedly. But how do you open up the parties, the financial thing? I usually am against social as a libertarian. I don't believe that the government should control all our money, whatever. I'm anti-taxation. But where I would love to see our tax dollars go is if we maybe did something where we say no fundraising. Each candidate gets a budget that the taxpayer gives them of $20 million. And you guys all get the even playing field. And now the Green Party, the Libertarian, the Democrat, and the Republican all get $20 million. You pick what commercials you want to run. You pick where you want to go campaign at. But now we're going to even the playing field that way, because it's not fair that one guy has $1 billion, the other guy has 10 million. Of course, the $1 billion guy's going to win because he gets his voice out there. And another thing I think that would help this, the number one issue I think that we have this problem is also term limits in the Senate and the Congress.
Bring it up. Come on.
If we make a term limits, now you're gonna have more people coming in and out, and you're gonna be able to have other parties sneak their way in. But if you have the same guys running for 40, 50 years at a time, of course it's gonna be only the two major parties. Repetitive. So I think we do need the term limits, and I would like to see more parties. Like why didn't they allow the Green Party candidate? I know that she's only polling at 1%, Jorgensen. Why did they allow her at the debate stage? Why was she debating?
And that's I don't think you understand how much I saw that on my timeline about where was the attention on her.
Yeah, she was actually her name was Googled an insane amount of time because, to be honest, both the candidates sucked in that debate. Both of them did. I mean, it was just, and Chris Wallace was horrible. I mean, the entire thing was just I give it like a F- for both of their performances. Chris Wallace's performance, the questions were crappy. I mean,
do you think that was designed specifically against Trump, or do you think it just kind of just went that way? It was nothing.
Kind of looked that way. Do I believe that Chris Wallace is a good journalist and is very centrist? Yes, I believe he had good intentions, but I believe that he was just getting annoyed by Trump was obviously bickering. But so was Joe Biden.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, they came out like that. I mean, Trump didn't have to tell that man his son was a cokehead in the military, but Boy, I was rolling. Boy, I was rolling, dude. They was clowning. I don't know
Hey,
why.
but he made him admit it. He made it admit it.
Made him admit it.
Yeah, that was just funny.
And before we get off of this, I do want to bring this up. For everybody upset about Trump talking about Proud Boys stand back and stand down, he did not say good old boys. Y'all thinking about some racist hillbilly white boys. No, the Proud Boys, that's a black Hispanic ran organization.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not for Black Lives Matter or against it. They're not for or against KKK.
They're just libertarians and shit.
That's all it is. Libertarians with guns. Proud Boys stand back, stand down. He did not say good old boy stand back. It's like,
and it's funny. And the guy that runs it his name is Enrique, and he's a Cuban American. The only reason that he looked like the only reason that he joined the Proud Boys because he's against socialism. So they're just a bunch of like anti-government. I mean, are they chaotic? Are there bad apples there? Of course.
We need some of that. You might have some of that. It happens.
But every group has bad apples. Like I don't care what group you like. Are there bad Black Lives Matter protesters? Of course. Are there good ones? Of course. There's good and bad people on both sides of these things. But to say that this is a race organization when half of them are Hispanic, I mean, it's the most. And this is another thing. Can we stop labeling everybody that we disagree with a racist or a bigot or what do we call them? A snowflake that the Republicans like? No, some people just think differently. And since when did the liberals used to be the party of let's have most ideas? Everybody has different points of view. We're a country that's open-minded, right? That was your 80s, your 70s, your Vietnam era, Vietnam War era.
Maybe further back, even yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like if you don't think like me, I gotta shut you down. It's like, and that causes all this strife and all this craziness. And look, does Trump say dumbass shit? Of course he does. And does he? If you look at the video, the way it was questioned, like, can you condemn white supremacy? And he said, well, what do you want me to call him? And then Biden yelled out, Proud Boys. Like, and then you got into Proud Boys, and he forgot to ask the white supremacy part.
Those are two different questions, and people don't realize that. Those are two different questions. And if you really want to bring it up, he's already denounced
multiple times.
So quit coming up. I got this one dude on my Facebook. He look like he could be in the NFL. He stay crying about Trump. I'm like, bro, you too damn big to be that damn scary.
It's this gotcha shit. Ah, gotcha. I gotcha with it. You know, I gotcha. It's like, bro, it's look, I vote on policy. I always
vote on policy and laws. Vote on policy. Yeah. Laws. That's where it's at.
Not rhetoric. I don't give a damn how you talk, what you sound like. What the hell's that to do with me, folks? You're shit. Hey, look, we can both agree that Trump is arguably the worst speaker in the history of the presidency. Like, he's not a trained speaker. He's funny as shit. He's the funniest.
Him and Bush, they run it because if people talk about Trump, like, bro, let me play this tape of Bush for
Bush.
You know what I'm saying? So they right neck and neck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And by the way, Dick Cheney was the president. Bush was just the figurehead at that time. Dick Cheney was
Dick Cheney liked to shoot people he go hunting with. We're not gonna bring him up.
Yeah, he was the guy that ran that whole thing. That's why Bush was scared of his ass, probably. So yeah, man, I just think the way if we come back, we have to have term limits. That's number one. We got to have term limits. At some point, Ted Cruz actually proposed this, and it got shut down.
There's a lot of Ted Cruz fans down here in Texas, by the way.
Oh yeah. Ted Cruz. Well, he's a Texan, but you know but how do we expect for this to pass when we're asking the people to vote on them losing a job? Like that's like you having a job at Microsoft making $200,000 a year, and I'm going to be, hey, by the way, bro, would you sign this real quick that says that you're going to lose a job in 4 years? Like, hell no. You'd be like, what?
You got a pen? You got a pen?
Yeah. You'd be like, F you, go F yourself. How are we supposed to expect these motherfuckers to vote on them losing their own job? Like,
that's true, bro.
That's the crazy. I think the way someone needs to be sneaky. What we need to do is sneakily have the people that support it bring it to the Supreme Court somehow, have them vote on it, and then when you get the new people in, the rule passes, then you can get sneaky and have the Congress and Senate, when they have the new people, vote on the term limits of the judges. But you got to have the balance, because they're not going to vote on terminating their own job. Like, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right.
So yeah, man. I mean that's all I think for today, man. I think we could just leave it right there, man. And I mean, we want to touch on this. We don't want to make this like a partisan, like Republican versus Democrat show.
Sure. It's not
We're
that
gonna
at
be
all.
covering. Yeah, we're gonna be in the center. We're gonna cover what's going on, and we're just gonna. We want you guys. You know, if you guys have any questions or you guys have topics you want us to cover, even comment. You know, don't forget to subscribe, like. Yeah, man. You want to say anything?
No, man, you said it all. That was perfect.
Yeah.
That was your very first episode of the Capitol Report with Vladi and Bryan.
Yeah.
As we go on, it's gonna get all perfect, I guess you can say. But right now, I mean, to me, it is perfect.
Yeah.
We're just chopping it up. This is what we normally do, whether on Facebook or over
Twitter
the phone.
fingers.
Yeah, Twitter figures, whatever. We're just making it 3D now. You can visually
Yeah.
see us doing it. So, yeah, man, that's been the first episode. I hope y'all have fun. We'll see y'all next week.
All right.